So,
So,
mhm.
yeah, perfect.
Social, email, events, all of it.
Oh, I love that. I need to sign up for it.
And it's obviously virtual, Whitney.
Virtual and free.
Perfect. Perfect. My
Are we
computer hates.
live? No.
No, we're recording, but we're not live. My computer hates me at the moment. One day,
Christy Covey is on the waiting room. Should I start admitting people
yeah,
if they
go ahead
come
and
in?
just go ahead and let her in.
Be
Okay.
like,
Sounds
hey,
like the voice of God.
I know. That was great.
What a sweet God, by the way. That was so delicate.
She just pops in. All right.
Hi,
Marketing.
Christy. We're gonna scare her. We're gonna be like, you get a one-on-one with all of us.
She'll be here for it. Christy will be, she'll be like, sign me up.
He's like, bye.
Yeah. I was like, she's already gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so hold on, we're going live in just a second. Live with Real Social.
My desk is such a hot mess right now, you guys. If only you could see.
That
I'm like
post-retreat.
hiding. Yeah, I'm like hiding in a different room in my house because I can't get anywhere quiet.
Get exploded.
Okay,
Why is it
wait.
hot at your house?
Okay, we are live. We're live.
Oh.
Here we go.
Oh, we are. So we can't talk about why her house is exploded.
Or why she's hiding. We can't talk about why Kim's hiding.
Hiding, yeah.
We can talk about whatever you want, girls.
Well, first off, ladies, thank you so much for being here with us. And we're so excited to dive in. Today is our monthly marketing meetup that we do alongside Kim and Whitney, the ladies behind Real Social, where they teach you how to authentically win with social and just kind of take the exhaust out of all things social media. So we actually got to be in real life with the ladies last week at Kristen's retreat, which was absolutely epic. And I was laughing this morning because one way or another, I never get my time with Kim and Whitney. So I never got to like do a breakout with them or get anything. Anyways, but I'm here for it. I'm here to bring you to everybody else. And one day we'll get my time.
Poor Randy.
Aw.
That's all
Well,
right.
I can
That's
feel your presence.
I
my
will tell
granddaughter
you,
last night was like, oh, sorry, Kristen. She was like, can we make B-roll? So there you go. I have her.
I actually
Love it.
think it's always amazing to me, like when we do events like that, like how much how you guys simplify it. Like it's so easy when you guys are doing it as far as getting B-roll and having that checklist. I feel like we have to tell everybody just kind of even like what we did at the retreat so that they can even just like have something like what you guys did and be able to go in
Yeah.
and be like, I have a plan.
We can give them that checklist. We have it as free downloadable, so we can send that to anybody who wants it, whether or not they were at the retreat. But yeah, I mean, Kim and I talk about this often, the idea that B-roll is the kind of content that most people are most comfortable capturing because they're not speaking. It's like the gateway into creating more content, but they just don't know where to start and they feel overwhelmed and they get tripped up. If they're like, oh, well, I have to be like doing the thing in my video that I'm talking about in my content. And so we really work to help them understand that the whole point of video is simply to just get their attention. I mean, sure, would it be amazing if we could layer in the fact that your video matches what you're talking about, but 9 times out of 10, that's not going to work. So we rather would use video as a way to sort of show them some of the actions that you do with regularity, and then use the copy as a way to really connect with them in whatever way you want to solve a problem for them or whatever. So yeah, we can always give you access to that B-roll checklist. But Kim, I think it was really cool. I want you to weigh in on this at the retreat. The women who were there, I felt like really took the bull by the horns, which in the
Yes.
past I have not noticed. Like they really were like, oh, I have my running checklist of things to grab. I'm gonna go grab it now. And I've got a partner. We're gonna film each other kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was definitely, I felt like we didn't really have to like nudge or handhold, which was really fun. I think obviously we were available to film in certain little pockets, but as I saw a lot of the footage that was shared and reels that they created, one, I was so excited that people actually posted something because I think a lot of times we see people making stuff and then they never post it, And so it was really fun to see a lot of those snippets that literally, it took an hour, And so I think we always say this, and I think when you're immersed in it, it's one thing, but, people are busy. And so I think when we talk about creating content, I think a lot of people just immediately get overwhelmed, right? Like, even if they don't have to be, their first reaction is, I'm overwhelmed. And so I think this checklist is a great starting point, because you can film this. You could do this in one fell swoop, or you could say, you know what, once a month, I'm going to take a chunk of this, and you can use that stuff over and over and over again. So I really like that, because I just think it's more realistic for really, when somebody's busy, if they've got something on their phone and they hear an audio and then they're like, oh, I can create this. Like, you just, I feel like you're not starting from zero, and that's how most people respond.
And we
Do
broke
you
that guide
guys-
out in sections of like what you do as a real estate agent, right? So if you have a new listing, here are all the things that you can capture for your new listing. If you're at the closing table, here are all the things you can capture at the closing table. If you're whatever, right? So it's broken out into segments, which I think makes it really easy for you to realize all the moments that you're already doing that are so easy to turn into content.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who's like, okay, I love the idea of the closing table, but I feel awkward videoing at the closing table?
I would say,
Yeah,
I
go
would,
ahead.
I would literally just be like, hey, I'm always grabbing footage, and I would have this conversation before the closing table. I would have this conversation when we're doing showings, when we're doing whatever. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I often grab snippets for marketing. If that makes you uncomfortable, it's like saying, just let me know. And then so I have that conversation early, right? And then I kind of know this client feels uncomfortable with it, this client does. And then usually they'll tell you their boundaries. They'll say like, oh, it's fine, just like don't put me in it. And if they say that, then I'm careful and creative about not putting them in it, right? So, or even you can even ask them like, are you okay if I show you? And I mean, Kim, you tell me, because you have this conversation with actual real estate clients, but I have it with my one-on-one clients too. I do the exact same thing. And some of them are cool and some of them are like, ooh, I look like a troll.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think, this goes back to when I took a photography course a long time ago. One of the first rules that our professor gave us was ask the subject for permission, right? So just ask them if they're okay with it. If they're not, that's fine. You can still capture what's going on, and you don't have to capture their face. Like, you can do, there's always a table with a lot of papers, or you have keys, or, like, there's ways that you can make like just panning across the table very engaging. So you don't have to
Opening
have
the
their
door to
face
walk
in it.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. So if your client say, yeah, I'm cool with this, then I always like, okay, let me start with what I don't like. I don't really like, anybody entitled, don't come at me with this, but I really don't like the posed picture at the end with like the key or the frame around your face. I mean, it's okay, because I think consumers, like, I think the buyer might like that. But I want to capture their smiles before that. So, or I've also captured really fun footage as soon as they walk out the door. And like, if it's two people, a lot of times I feel like they hug or they laugh, or, they're just like, I can't believe that happened. Like, capturing that, you don't even have to capture the sound. You just need to capture their face. And it's really just remembering to have your phone out and having it on video. Like, that's it. And then just see what happens, and don't force it. If it's like cheesy and not, what you really want, then don't use that, like, have that be your filter. But definitely ask.
Yeah, I think that's great advice.
Sorry, I was just going to share this. So funny enough, I've never attended a closing table. Like, I've never, my state, they record after the fact. And so I've never, ever went to a closing in 20 plus years. But I do closing celebrations. And it's kind of the same thing, Kim. I have an intake form. So if agents, you're kind of worried about this, I also, we record our calls just because my memory, but I have an intake form that says like, hey, this is how we're going to monitor, how we do quality control or whatever, it's worded better. And then it also says, and we do content creation. So kind of in our intake, we have that conversation, and not everybody wants their celebration. What I've noticed is everybody actually loves, and I think this is a big takeaway that you guys will agree with. Everybody loves getting that moment captured. So my clients always say, Kate, can you send me those? Can you send me that video? Can you send this? Not everybody wants it posted on social. And so some people are like, yeah, could you just send it to me? So they love that capturing of the moment. But it's funny because like we'll have storms, we'll have whatever, and it goes wrong. And like the confetti goes in the wrong person's yard, or the neighbor comes out and is like, who's cleaning this up? And so we've had all the situations happen, but I only need like that 10 seconds of like a good smile and we have content, right? Like even when it goes all bad, if we just get 10 seconds of like a happy emotion or a real emotion or a good emotion, then we're golden.
And
Yeah,
even if
absolutely.
you don't get 10 good seconds, if you got 10 awkward seconds, you can still use that for content. It's like me when I'm trying to like whatever, right? Like I'm trying to do something as a real estate agent and it doesn't work out. Like you can still use crappy video for good content.
Yeah.
Right?
for
You should have
sure.
seen me. I moved to biodegradable confetti, which drove me nuts because it doesn't match. It's ugly. It's not near as pretty as my other confetti. But once I had a neighbor that was like, who's cleaning this up? And I'm out there for like 10 hours picking up one piece of
Yeah.
confetti.
Oh, that sounds
That's
terrible.
so funny. I mean, I
Yes.
do think in general, we underestimate what we're doing on the daily, right? Excuse me. So I think moments like this, they're big moments for the person that's involved. You know, we get to see this often. And so I think sometimes we downplay it, but I think if you can really just think through like, wow, this is a big moment for them. Or, I mean, I remember one closing so vividly. She was single and she did it all herself. And it was just like, I got emotional at her closing because I was just like, I'm so proud of you. I admire you. And we had a female lender as well. And it was just sort of this like, I didn't film it, but it was just this really cool moment of, I don't know, like girl power in this room. It was so cool. So I just think those are things that we're fortunate that we get to see this in our daily life. And you just have to be willing first, obviously get their permission, but then, you know, share it because this is like the stuff people want to see.
Yeah. And I loved you guys had given a suggestion of doing a voiceover and reading a letter to your clients. And I know me and Candace did that for our retreat. And I was like, that's such a good idea. If you take the time, like your situation right there, where she's like a single mom and it was this girl power moment, like you could write a letter to her all day long and then you could do the video with your voiceover. And I feel like it's totally touching.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like you guys, listen, it's the moments that make the content. It's not the video that makes the content, it's the feeling inside of the moment. Like even if the video is crappy, if you're talking through the meaning and the heart behind it, it's gonna win every time, right? And so don't overthink it. Just be willing to show your heart a little bit and you'll be amazed at what happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy that I follow and I'm so bummed because he was just in Columbus. I'm like, oh, if I would have bumped into him, I would have totally had like a fangirl moment. But Justin Anderson, I don't know. He lives in Nashville. I don't know if you guys follow him, but he used to like be in celebrity hair. Anyway, give him a look because he is doing really cool stuff with voiceover. He'll do like little snippets of different towns he goes to. And I'm like, this is what we should be doing. You know, like be the explorer in your market and just share little things. And then worry about your voiceover once you're like putting the reel together. But these are
This
things
guy,
that I think Justin Anderson, yeah, blonde
yeah,
hair. His
he's got
partner's
a
name
lot of
is Scoot.
followers.
Yeah, he has a
Okay.
lot of followers and you'll love him or not like him, but I find him entertaining. But anyway, he was literally just in German Village. He ate at Lindy's. It's like one of our favorite places. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, you have to come back in the
I was
summer and
like
sit on
there
the
last
patio.
week.
Oh, I know. But my point is like he goes to Nantucket all the time. And so like he shares there's this one story. I mean, I watched the whole thing and I remembered it because I'm resharing this with you guys. They just went to like their famous or favorite little sandwich shop and explained what they ordered. They just had little snippets of like them eating the sandwich, going in, walking away, like super easy content, but like memorable. I mean, it's very memorable.
Mm-hmm. I love content like that. I need to know what everybody's ordering. So please, if everyone could do that, that'd be great.
You should do it
Well, you
too.
were,
Like
yeah.
when you go to X place, when you go to Joe's barbecue, do you get the loaded tater with brisket? Because I do.
Ooh. No, I get the spicy pickle fries.
You would. So
I
here's the
do.
See?
deal though. How many of you all hear or see about like content that's like what you order at a place and think, well, who the hell cares about that? But the
Mhm.
thing is, everybody has something to say about food or a place to go or a thing to experience or a thing to see. And so even though it feels dumb, like, is this really helpful content? It doesn't always have to be helpful if it's connection worthy, if it's relatable, right? And so do I want every single piece of content you create to be about like French fry orders? Not unless you're selling like, I don't know, something related to French fries. But every now and then, if you put in a little something that's like, hey, you need to know this is the best thing in our town, that's
Mhm.
like, that's great. And it's a conversation point because social's supposed to be social.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and on the B-roll too, because the guide, definitely download that if you're watching this. I think it just gives you a really, really great starting place. But I also, this immediately makes me think of our brand conversations. Um, you know, you're not just your business, but your personality is really important in your business. So think through some of the things that you do really enjoy, like things that you frequent often in your town. It could be it could be restaurants, it could be coffee shops, it could be, I don't know, it could be dog parks. Wayland's like part of the conversation right now. It could be dog parks. It could be, anything, like whatever your hobby is, like share that, because the whole point is the engagement. People will start talking to you about it, and you want to attract people who maybe you have something in common with, right? Hopefully those would be great clients.
Right?
Yeah,
Right.
this is definitely giving me like, how have I not been doing this on my local page? Duh.
It's
I'm
never
like,
too late, sis.
I know. So here I go. You guys are gonna get all the goods in Gilbert. I tell agents all the time, I'm like, you have to be a local area expert, and then here I am not even doing that.
Same. I feel so
I'm a
seen whenever I
loser.
started posting their reels. I was like, oh my gosh, what has been, I have Metrical and I have like so many things scheduled in there, and I just am a control freak. And I'm like, the caption needs to be better, or this needs to be better, or that needs to be better. So they just sit there and bottleneck and they don't go anywhere for months. And so I feel seen, and I'm like, all right, I got to do it. I got to do it.
Hear me when I say that your half-assed content is still gonna, you showing up half-assed is more than 90% of what the world is doing. And I would rather you show up half-assed than trip yourself up trying to be perfect. Because
Mhm.
most people are not out there doing this. The fact anybody is here having this conversation about a willingness to build a brand online and show up and position themselves as like a helpful resource, you're already winning the game. You're already ahead of 90% of the people in the world who are doing what you're doing, because most of them won't even do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
mean,
just want
here's
to
another thing, like take this and run with it. So I am sponsoring an event that is next weekend or next Friday. And it's two of my favorite local boutiques in town. I did this 2 years ago. So I didn't do it last year, but 2 years ago, we had like, it was packed. It was like people are shopping, people are drinking, people are just hanging out. The footage was awesome. So I took a ton of B-roll and I just used it again. Like I just used it to help promo what we're going to do 2 years later. And they're like resharing it. Both of those companies are resharing it. We have like the Scout Guide resharing it. I'm like, oh my God, it's not even that good of a reel, but I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But it's getting me, I'm going to go to their stores tomorrow and shoot a little bit more B-roll, more of them in their store. But like, I try to just capture bodies having fun. And like, I just put like a trending holiday song behind it. And it's not like it has to be, I think you just have to remember, like, what am I doing? And I should film this because I can use it again. I just had a coffee with an agent who's a really good friend of mine. She's like phenomenal at holiday decorating. Like she really should start a side business. She can make these bows, you guys. They are fire. So I was like, can I come over to your house next week with my bag of ribbon and film you making a bow? And she's like, yeah. And I go, are you charging for bows? She goes, well, I will charge for bows. And I was like, yes, we're doing this. So you'll see those coming up. But just little conversations like that, you're like, just film it,
Well, and
it
I
can be
think that
fun.
for the agent that is listening that feels like you understand how to do social, this is still the power and the benefit of like working alongside somebody like Kim and Whitney, because it's just like anything, like 90% of us know what we need to do in business to be successful. But if we aren't surrounded by people actually executing and having the conversation over, we're not moving our business forward, right? And it's the same thing with social. Like I know the things, but because I'm not around people that are executing, and because like nobody's like, where the heck have you been on social? I slack. And so it's really important to think about like, who am I aligning with that is going to help me to continue to show up even when I don't want to show up, or when I get in that rut, to come back in and not overthink the things, right? So I just want to kind of re-shout out, like, this is a benefit in working with you guys, is that you help people like consistently. I know my friend, Kristen, came to the event that we all went to in Ohio together. And I had been on her about social, and she's like, fine, I'll get an Instagram. And then over the last few months, I'm like, dang girl, like you're crushing it. And I remember messaging her and I was like, tell me what you're doing. And she's like, I'm working with Whitney and Kim. And I was like, I love it. But even this morning, she did a reel where she's walking with one of her teammates. And I think there's like little pie emojis across. And it was just like, hey, clients, past clients, like family, friends, check your email. It's that time again. And I thought about like, what a missed opportunity I have, because I have a mob giveaway every single month, but I just keep it in the mob. And I was like, dang, I could put something out every single day to like reiterate that those people that work with me are getting concert tickets, they're getting cabin giveaways, they're getting all the things every single month as a gratitude of like being an advocate for us, So I'm missing a
Yeah,
huge,
in our
probably the brains behind that.
Yeah. In our strategy sessions every month with Kristen and with the rest of our clients, the conversation is, what are you doing this month? And then what do you want the outcome to be? Do you want to open that up to the world? No, I don't want to give the world pies. Okay. Do you want everyone to know that this is one way that you love on your clients in an annual way? Absolutely. So then what we're going to do is we're going to do a letter just to your past clients on social, but everyone else is going to see it. Hey, if you're a past client, check your email, something fun is coming, right? So we get the 1-2 punch of showing the world that we love on our clients, but also creating our clients an experience for them to feel like, oh my God, it's me. She's talking just to me. It's just for me now, right? So social gets to be, even if it's not for everyone, I actually think that creates of a more like people want to watch because they're like, well, it's not me, but I want to know what the hell she's doing.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and I mean, talk about proof. So in the comments here, for those of you watching the live stream, in the comments, when the ladies were giving the suggestion of like talking about what to eat and what to do this, Christy popped in and was like, yeah, like you could talk about Buc-ee's. And then Kristen was like, what's Buc-ee's? And then I wanted to be part of the conversation because how does Kristen not know what Buc-ee's is? I'm like, where have you been?
I'm really upset that we don't have Buc-ee's here. Arizona needs to get it together. We do have
It sounds
Arrogant.
like a whole conversation.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
does.
stops on people's road trips. Like literally people like map it, stop on their road trip.
I mean, if I have a road
I,
trip, buy one, I'm
I
going.
I had to tell you that I saw something on social this morning that like literally I had like a light bulb moment that I just want everyone to hear. So it was a Gary Vee video. I'm obsessed with him. He's another love him or hate him
Great.
person. You're either going to love him or not, right? But I'm watching his video and he's like, if you want to build a business in 2025, you have two ways to do it. You can go new school or old school. New school is creating a ton of organic content to build your brand. Old school is messaging every person you've ever worked with and telling them thank you for allowing you the opportunity to do it. And I was like, what the fuck would happen, excuse my French, if we would just do both of those things together, right? So you do those over letters for all your clients and you talk about their story and you tag them and you also send them something personal behind the scenes. Could you imagine what would happen to your business if you did that? Like, holy cow, you don't have to just be one or the other. You get to be both. And when you are both, prepare to watch amazing things happen.
Yeah.
Love
I
that.
mean,
Just wrote that down. Easy. It's like
Whitney, that's like a really good segue for what we're doing in December. But I was listening to an interview, the two brothers, like the Property Brothers. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw an interview with them 2 days ago on CNBC. I watch Squawk Box in the morning. It's my financial, I don't know, hopefully I'm absorbing it. But anyway, they started a new show and they were talking about the show, but there were a lot of questions about like their influence with stores like Home Depot and Lowe's. And it was fascinating to hear one of them say, we have been asking about this for so long for them to figure out how to set up a model where we go into the stores and we're showing you what to do. And I'm just like, how are these people not doing this yet? But I share that because these two guys are all about creating content and making like you're basically that brand ambassador, right? And so everybody has to create content. That's what I'm sharing. I'm like, they just constantly have to be creating the content. And so it's like, it's not going away, and so how can you embrace it and be successful? And what Whitney just shared about Gary Vee, we really wholeheartedly believe social is like one really, really key component to the engine, but it's not all of it. And so if you can figure out a way to make everything you're doing amplified by using social, but being in your community, being that person that's the go-to like I know everything what's going on. I mean, that builds trust immediately. And that's what we're all trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So on that note, there is a way for our viewers and our moms in real estate to actually tap in and get prepared to win in 2025, right? So will you tell them a little bit about what you guys have coming up?
Yeah, for sure. So we are planning a virtual free 1 hour masterclass called Plan Your Year, where we're going to walk you through the methodology that we use to plan our entire year of marketing efforts. It's social, email, events, and personal touch points. So we've put together an infrastructure that allows you to really plan the holistic marketing strategy for 2025. And it's free. And again, doesn't matter where you live, totally virtual. I'll put the link in the chat. So any of you guys are more than welcome to come share it with any of your team members that you think would be helpful. But essentially, we just want to spend an hour showing you how to make this approachable and easier because we're so tired of watching people build complicated marketing strategies that they can't stick to.
Yeah. And coming out of, I feel like this audience, you guys are engaging with your communities. I mean, you're setting up events, like we're not having to convince you why you need to do that. But how can you make it stronger? How can you make it louder? Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be bigger. But just how can you like get, every little ounce of juice squeezed out of that? It really does work. And I think if you could just put yourself in the mindset of, if I could have this all mapped out, like literally everything I have to do before the end of December, and you can start executing it, you can start writing all the emails, you can have your events like being planned. I mean, that feels amazing to me. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, 100%. When is that? Just, I know you dropped the link and we're going to share that in the recap and in it, but so it's December 11th, right? Because I just looked it up.
December 11th, 9:30 a.m. So it's going to be early bird for US Coasties. Okay. So it's going to be like,
I'm doing the math. Look, I'm like 8:30, 7:30, 6:30.
Set an alarm.
6:30
there will be a
a.m.
replay, I'm just saying, but it's going to be
No,
early.
that's
Kristen's
what I
up no matter what time. Doesn't matter what time I text that girl, she's awake and kicking. I'm like, ma'am, do you sleep?
Literally 5 a.m. my phone
I
starts.
sleep
I'm
8
like,
hours
"She's out."
every night. Every night.
You go to bed when your kids go to bed?
What? Do my kids go to bed?
When do you go to bed?
Do you
When
go to
they're-
bed when your kids go to bed?
I go to bed at 9 and I wake up at 5. 9 to 5. It's great.
Just like that. Just like that. I love it. I love it. Last night I was like doing a pill and stick floor at like 3 a.m. and then I'm like prying my face open and all my time changed on my phone because of Arizona. So I'm texting Kristen. I'm like, am I really supposed to be on a call with you at 7:30?
Time zones are everyone's worst nightmare. Okay. It's not just us. It's everyone.
Especially when one of us is in Arizona and they don't move and we all move. Well, ladies, thank you so much. We are so excited. I'm going to jump in. I know Kristen and I are both so excited to jump in on that event that you're doing. And as always, if you want to go ahead and not even wait until December and you want to get working with Kim and Whitney, you can reach out to them on social. You can reach out to them. We'll drop their contacts also when we replay this. So thank you, ladies, so much for another awesome month.
So glad to be with you all.
Bye,
Bye, you
guys.
guys.